Right now on the National Weather Desk, enter Ernesto. The next likely hurricane is now forming in the Atlantic.
Bermuda's going to have to be on alert for this, though, because this could become a Category 2 hurricane towards the end of this week.
While communities from South Carolina to New York are still cleaning up from Debby.
And within seconds, it was coming over the top.
I've never seen anything like this before.
A helicopter pilot returns to Maui 1 year after the devastating wildfires.
The businesses are still all gone.
While Michigan's blueberry season is lasting a little longer than usual.
Our berries have been good in size because of the rain.
And from coast to coast, the northern lights shine brightly overnight. We'll show you what you may have missed.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Angela Brown. Goodbye, Debby. Hello, Ernesto. Another potential hurricane is brewing in the Atlantic this morning, and tropical storm warnings are already posted for several islands, including Puerto Rico and also the Virgin Islands. Meteorologist Lauren Oleski is tracking the tropics for us this morning.
This is designated potential tropical cyclone 5 because it's expected to become a tropical system before it moves over some land area somewhere, and in this case it's going to be near the Windward Islands. Then it makes its curve north, which is what pretty much every computer model is showing. So again, I'm not really concerned with this tracking anywhere near us. The high pressure that's in place is actually going to break down a little bit, and that's why it's able to make that north turn. Bermuda's going to have to be on alert for this, though, because this could become a Category 2 hurricane towards the end of this week. But again, it's nothing for us to be concerned with. The next name on our list is Ernesto, so that's what this would become unless something else quickly develops over the course of the next couple of days.
And Debby may be long gone, but folks along the East Coast are still feeling her effects. This is the Edisto River in South Carolina. It crested yesterday at over 17 feet, which is considered major flood level. A Charleston resident posted this video right here showing water completely surrounding her home, and she wasn't alone. As Lauren Lemon shows us, flooding destroyed many homes, including a family farm.
You know, your first instinct that you think about is to survive. You're numb at that moment. Clear decisions have to be made.
Angela Brinkman remembers the moment Tropical Storm Debby forced her and her family to evacuate their home.
I had to come to a realization, like, you know what, this is a fight or flight.
Grabbing all they needed to survive.
A little further back in, it's hard to see from here. Our farm is down on the right-hand side. Even if you get back there, it's covered in water, so.
But what do you grab when your land is your means of survival?
It's different when you are a farm and you have animals. It's different. So it's like the animals are your babies, they're your livelihood. You know, they're like your everyday pet, your dog, your favorite, your best friend. You know, they love on you, they care for you. We will rebuild, our neighbors will rebuild with the community, the beautiful community that we have.
And as the remnants of Debby moved north on Friday, the intense rain triggered widespread flooding in New York State. Daniel Finkelstein shows us the devastation after the rushing water washed away people's livelihoods.
Yeah, this was all the original barn.
2 days after massive flooding brought by the remnants of Debby ripped through homes and businesses in Canisteo, Billy Weekland's home is unrecognizable.
Probably about 12 o'clock is when things got noticeable to where we were paying attention to the rivers, and within seconds it was coming over the top. I tried to hold it together as best I could so we could get out of there.
After narrowly escaping the powerful floods, shock and grief remains. When the water settled, Weekland found many of their possessions were washed away into the nearby field. A gaping hole near what was their kitchen shows the strength of those rushing waters.
It was a tidal wave that you did not want to be anywhere near.
New York Governor Kathy Hochul visited the home early Sunday evening, pledging state support to those who suffered losses. The state deploying teams of workers to help homeowners with their insurance claims. Hochul also announcing the deployment of more than 3,000 Department of Transportation workers to ensure the integrity of regional infrastructure after many roads were severely damaged.
This storm washed away people's lives and their dreams.
South Canisteo is underwater.
This video taken on Friday shows the raging water in South Canisteo.
You know, my heart started racing. I was just feeling very overwhelmed. I've never seen anything like this before.
What remains there now as crews work to build back up appears disastrous.
I'm just very impressed with the way that we have come together and really worked together to help everybody out so far.
And in Vermont, what was left of Debby uprooted trees and knocked out power to more than 20,000 people. Power has been restored, though, to most of them. The strongest winds were clocked at 62 miles per hour. 3 inches of rain also fell, but thankfully that was not enough to trigger any flooding. Northern Vermont has experienced 2 major floods in the past year. And heavy thunderstorms made their way through central Oklahoma on Sunday, flooding several areas. According to the National Weather Service, over 6 inches of rain fell in some areas. Katie Arata has more.
Many woke up to the sound of intense thunderstorms Sunday, which quickly turned into hazardous floods in many areas. Cleveland County is one of the areas hit the hardest, with several vehicles stranded on the roads due to the high waters. The county reported heavy flooding from Noble through Slaughterville and into Lexington that was making travel extremely dangerous. The Oklahoma City Fire Department says they made 12 water rescues Sunday morning, and the Oklahoma Highway Patrol reported they also rescued several people in the OKC metro area Sunday. The National Weather Service reported Oklahoma City measured 6.58 inches of rainfall on Sunday, the 7th highest amount of daily rainfall ever recorded in OKC. While most of the flooding subsided by the afternoon, the north side of Norman was still dealing with some flooded roadways, and officials asked the community to drive cautiously and not drive through water.
Well, there are different types of rain. Syracuse meteorologist Josh Kozlowski explains a few of them based on some weather that's been in their area.
So first up, instability rain. Basically the heating of the sun at the surface combined with cold air aloft. Think of an analogy, a pot of water boiling on the stove. The bottom of the pot is hotter with the water versus the water temperature at the top of the pot, and that creates those bubble effects inside the pot of water. Same thing in the atmosphere with showers and downpours. Lake-enhanced rain. Think of general rain happening in the atmosphere, and the volume is turned up by Mother Nature, causing it by the Lake Ontario instability. So 2 kinds of things working together for lake-enhanced rain. The third type of rain, lake effect rain, and is when colder air aloft crosses over one of the Great Lakes, like Lake Ontario, and the opposite end of that lake where the wind's coming from is where the rain ends up. For the National Weather Desk, I'm meteorologist Josh Kozlowski.
And a bit of good news about the park fire burning in Northern California. Firefighters continue to battle this massive blaze, but they now have the fire 38% contained. The fire only grew a small amount over the weekend, but so far the fire has burned just about 430,000 acres total. The park fire remains the 4th largest wildfire in California history. And Greek officials have ordered evacuations north of Athens as they fight a wildfire tearing through that region. It started on Sunday. Officials said it spread rapidly overnight, damaging some homes. Firefighters worked throughout the night to contain those flames, and 29 water-bombing aircrafts were also called in to help. Greek officials warned that extreme heat and other dangerous weather conditions will continue through Thursday. And the Perseid meteor shower was forecast to put on a show last night into the early morning hours, but it was the northern lights that stole the show. Scientists say that a geomagnetic storm was the reason that the aurora was so clear in several places. People from Rhode Island to Washington State reported seeing the light display. All these photos were sent to us by viewers, and we'd love to share your photos and your video on the air. If you have pictures of the northern lights or any of the other great weather content, share it with us on social media. Just search the National Weather Desk and head over to Facebook to check out a photo gallery. We have posted dozens of the best shots of those northern lights. Simply gorgeous. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, it's been 1 year since the deadly Maui wildfires. We'll look at how the town of Lahaina is recovering 1 year later, and we'll find out how the weather is leading to a longer blueberry season in northern Michigan.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
A recent start to the day in Seattle, the smoky skies and the sun shielded behind clouds that appear to shake hands. And this sunset illuminates a Nebraska lake shoreline, rippling waters and footprints in the sand. And Sunday evening, this gorgeous end of day in Bristol, Rhode Island.
For more content like this, like the National Weather Desk on Facebook.
It's been 1 year since devastating wildfires in Hawaii wiped out portions of Maui and took the lives of 102 people. Sophia Lesios looks back at what's changed in that year since this tragic event.
Oh my goodness, look at all these houses.
The morning after the devastating wildfires in Maui, most of the world had no idea how bad things really were.
Oh my gosh, look at the harbor.
That morning, Richie Olston decided to fly over and see what the fire was doing.
When we started to see that the whole town was gone and hundreds of homes were gone, we literally were in disbelief.
This looks like Baghdad or something.
We had tears rolling down our cheeks, up in the helicopter, because it was unbelievable. It looked like a war zone, looked like an area that had been bombed, and it was just smoldering afterwards, just horrific.
Now looking at Lahaina a year later.
Big difference was that almost all of the destruction was gone and cleared away.
But that doesn't mean Maui is even close to recovering.
It still struck me as being catastrophic because the buildings are all gone. You know, the historic section is gone, people's homes are gone, people died there. So that part still strikes you. It's still a major, major catastrophe for those people that live there. And for the businesses, you know, the businesses are still all gone. You know, nothing has started to be rebuilt, and that'll take a long, long, long time before there's businesses built again where people were working.
Even though the island is open, tourism hasn't picked back up.
There's no Lahaina town per se to visit anymore for the tourists. It's still impacting tourism here tremendously. Maui is way down. Even us a year later, we're still 30% down from previous to the fire.
And recently, an ultra-marathon open water swimmer swam from Maryland's Chesapeake Bay Bridge to Baltimore's Inner Harbor. She was celebrating the recently announced milestone of the water in the Baltimore Harbor being clean enough to swim in. Meteorologist Amy Aronson found out how the weather played a major role in this historic swim.
Meet Katie Pumphrey, an ultra-marathon open water swimmer. She is actually the first person to swim the 24 miles from the Bay Bridge to the Inner Harbor in Baltimore, Maryland. Katie says weather plays a huge role in her sport and was a big factor during her historic swim.
It was hot. Originally, we planned the swim to be in early May, but we pushed it back due to the Key Bridge collapse. And so the water in late June warms up fast. So it was in the 80s, up to 82.3 at one point. Air temperature was in the 90s. So it was the hottest swim I've ever done by far, by 20 degrees.
Katie and her team did come prepared for this heat.
Really had to focus on hydration. Luckily I didn't get too sunburned that day, and my crew kept me hydrated the whole time.
Wind also plays a huge role in her sport.
Really strong winds. Obviously, you're hoping for a tailwind, something that's going to kind of push you along and support your swim. But any wind that's creating a small craft advisory or something that's really getting turbulent for your boat crew, you're trying to avoid that. And then obviously any wind that's going to prevent you from making forward progress, you try to avoid.
And rain is not a good thing when it comes to open water swimming.
I mean, definitely storms, trying to avoid that. And heavy rain. So heavy rain, even in the days before your swim, can impact water quality in any body of water. So open water swimmers are very used to the concept of dry days and trying to swim outside of heavy rain in 48 hours. So we were really watching the weather to make sure we were outside of a heavy rain window, and luckily the weather worked out.
And Katie plans to swim it again next spring when temperatures are a little cooler. In Baltimore, Maryland, I'm meteorologist Amy Aronson.
It's being called one of the best conservation success stories. Experts say the Wisconsin sand-eel cranes were hunted to the brink of extinction, but now their populations has soared to nearly 100,000. But as Eric Peterson reports, that has not been good news for everybody.
One issue involves crop damage. In the spring, sandhill cranes can pick freshly planted corn, causing damage to fields. According to the committee report, there were about 200 complaints in the state last year, with self-reporting damages of about $1.8 million.
Our biggest concern in Wisconsin right now is around solving the problem of crop depredation, making sure we come up with some sustainable ways to help farmers that experience damage on crops from cranes.
Rich Belfus is president and CEO of the International Crane Foundation. He says seeds treated with a non-toxic solution leave cranes with a bad taste in their mouths. He says there are more birds on the landscape, but
yes, the population in Wisconsin is such that you could have a sustainable hunt of the birds. We know that. The question isn't so much can we, but should we, and is it what we really want in the state here?
I had proposed a season, but even if we did propose a season, it would take at least 2 years. U.S. Fish and Wildlife has to approve it, and after that, then they would set up some parameters with our DNR.
It's peak blueberry picking season in northern Michigan, and this year the blueberry crop gets some extra harvest time because of a mild winter and also spring conditions. Meteorologist Trevor Robideau stopped by a farm to learn about this year's crop.
Our berries have been good in size because of the rain, and some colder nights ahead will definitely help us slow down harvest. Harvest has still been about 7 days early. A lot of farmers are running a week ahead of schedule.
Reinders owns a farm in Ottawa County and is president of the Michigan Blueberry Advisory Committee.
Most times we pick a crop 3 to 4 times, and being ahead of schedule, some of our varieties kind of got bunched together there in the middle, so a lot of our harvesters have been running until dark every night.
Nick Billings of Bulldog Berries in Leelanau County says the mild winter has caused some side effects for his own crop.
Plants like to have a certain amount of freezing hours for the sugars to settle right and go into the fruit correctly, but it does cause some problem with weeds. When you don't have the real cold winter like that, we're fighting weeds, especially with all the rain that we had. It's not a big deal, but it's a fact.
But otherwise, all seems well, and the lack of a lot of rain during the summer harvest has proven beneficial for Billings, who says he prefers it that way.
Once we start harvest, I honestly like it to not rain as much. It keeps the bugs and fungus, any root rot, bacteria that can come up that we typically have to spray for. It allows me to not spray as much. We also have a very sandy, loomy soil here, a lot of filtration, and I have drip irrigation.
Despite the year being ideal overall, Billings says he would prefer a more normal winter going forward.
We do prefer a little bit more of a heavy winter, get the snow a little bit higher and insulate around the plants.
And time now for a short break, but first we take flight with a flock of pink flamingos.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
Sometimes you hear rain in the forecast, but when you step outside, things are dry, or when you check the radar for your area, it shows clouds and precipitation. But you don't see any rain falling from the sky. This is because of something called virga. Meteorologist Charlotte Carl explains what it is.
So I wanted to show this amazing picture sent to us by Lawrence. He said it was taken last month, but we generally see this a lot during the summertime. This is actually what's called a virga or virga. It's a phenomenon that happens when essentially rain starts to fall. And normally what we see is when that rain falls, it fully reaches the surface. You know, you're standing outside, the rain falls on you. You know what it's like. But with virga, what we see is the rain actually starts to evaporate before it hits the ground because it interacts with a layer of drier air that's above the surface. So that's how you get that appearance that it's almost raining, but it's kind of wispy in appearance because it's actually just evaporating.
Looking for more great weather content, you can find us on all your favorite social media platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Just search the National Weather Desk. We'll be right back.